Thanks, Mitch. Garrett, great to see you. How are you?
I'm doing all right, Tom. That was your question, huh? No, I'm messing with you.
I got one more for you.
I'm good. I'm good, my guy. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Um, just want to start with some off the court stuff and everything that's been happening over the last, I guess, 6 weeks or so. And this is an area where you've had a voice prior. Um, it's kind of a broad question, but what's just your take on what we've seen over the last 6 weeks, the impact, and maybe where all this is going?
Um, I think this situation is a little different. Unfortunately, not in the fact that another black man has been killed. Subsequent to another black man in Atlanta, and then a black woman. But the fact that the how people have reacted to it, specifically how white America has reacted to it, feels a little different than the other times. I mean, I can remember when I heard about the George Zimmerman verdict. I was in Los Angeles, California, and I remember nobody seemed to care, and it was really my first time just hanging out in LA, and it made me angry that it was so foreign to so many people, or people just didn't even pay attention to it. Whereas fast forward, I don't know how many years, 8, 9 years later, it seems like people are finally starting to care about, unarmed black men being brutalized by the police, and just black Americans in general being marginalized. So the biggest thing I see is the difference in how it has affected, or how everybody else is trying to help, and is realizing what the devastation that's going on.
Thank you, Garrett.
Hey, Garrett. How you doing? It's Brian Lewis.
What up, B? I see you, bro.
I'm curious. I guess first off, I should start. Unless I'm mistaken, your brother tested positive for COVID. Did I get there? So first off, hopefully he's all right, and everybody else in the family's good.
Yeah, he tested positive. This was in maybe February.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry, not February. When did we stop playing? So it had to be
March.
Late March or early April.
Yeah.
And he was actually hospitalized and was in the hospital for 10 days. Was near having to be intubated. Didn't go that far though. So, but he's healthy now. He's good. Nobody knows the lasting effects of this, but hopefully he'll be fine.
Okay, good. That's first and foremost. I've heard you say, that it's an amazing. They restart. First off, is an amazing opportunity for guys to basically push the narrative and be heard on issues. We also hear that Kyrie has had concerns about the bubble and about guys going into the bubble for various reasons. I'm not going to ask you to speak out of turn or betray any trust. I'm just curious, though, how did those conversations actually go down? Because, I mean, we hear stuff third, fourth, fifth hand. How are you comfortable relaying how those conversations went down, both on the bubble and safety, and in terms of BLM and pushing the narrative in the best ways to make sure that you guys stayed out in front of this and got the message across?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, everybody has their own thoughts on how to affect change. I think the main underlying point is that everybody wants the same thing. Kyrie, myself, most of the black men in the league that are passionate about this, or if they weren't passionate, most of them are passionate about it now. We want the same thing, and there are a lot of different ways to skin a cat. The conversations were actually those conversations, thinking about ways, what is a way that we can most utilize this extra push, these extra ears and extra eyes that are on this situation. Like I said, everybody realized that this is a little different than 3 years ago or 4 years ago. The world was at a standstill, and this happened again. And because of the situation in terms of the pandemic, people have to watch. I mean, it's the only thing that was going on. But my thing is, I think we utilize the situation, being in the bubble, as a way to continue to push it because there are going to be so many eyes watching these basketball games, again, because of the pandemic. And maybe more so now than what we thought, 3 or 4 weeks ago because of the uptick. So stay-at-home orders are being pushed even more. So it may not be life as usual come August as we thought it may have been. And because of that, you can look at it now in terms of the national media. It's died down a little bit. Just being honest. I mean, life has a way of going on, but the people that don't have to think about this thing, they have a way of not thinking about it anymore and living their lives. But as Black men, Black people in America, you know just as well as me, this is an everyday struggle. So I think the way that we can utilize those 2-3 months in Orlando to continue to push the narrative, to continue to have it on people's minds, fresh on people's minds, is something that we can do in terms of keeping it on people's minds. And then obviously we can utilize the push to get things done from a league basis that we may want to have done in terms of donations and putting funds into certain things. But I think just making sure the narrative continues to be pushed on a national level, I think we can really utilize our bubble and ESPN and Turner to help us push that narrative.
Thank you.
Greg.
Hi, Garrett. It's Greg Logan from Newsday. Along those same lines, I was especially interested in what you had to say about the money that could be lost if you guys chose not to play, and how that money can help contribute to creating generational wealth, especially in Black families. And I just wonder if you can kind of summarize your thoughts on how, one, hanging on to that wealth doesn't mean that you can't also use the social platform.
Yeah, in my opinion, because of how I was raised and how I do things, and more so now, I think the average NBA player is more socially conscious now than 15, 20 years ago. Definitely more so than when I first got in the league. So I can't really speak on 15, 20 years. I wasn't in there, but more than 10 years ago, the Black NBA player is more socially conscious. And because of that, I would hope that you're not only conscious, but you're active in using your platform and your resources to help things that you feel like should be changed. Whether it is putting money into certain situations, having a foundation that helps fund certain issues that you want to see get better. And I think the resources that we have, because of the sport we're able to play for a lot of money, we can utilize those resources to help the communities that we grew up in, live in, care about. And that's my biggest thing in terms of the generational wealth. Obviously, me making money does not make somebody in the Black community have generational wealth, but I do think me making money, if I do what I'm supposed to do with it, to whom much is given, much is required. So if I do what I'm supposed to do with it, I personally feel an obligation to give to certain causes that I feel strongly about. And when I'm able to create that wealth, I can then pass that, those same values on to people, and they can help more and more communities. That's my thought process behind it. And that's why I've said what I've said about being able to continue to. They're not mutually exclusive to me. You can do your job, make money, and also use that money to help your community if you choose to. So that's my biggest thing.
Thanks very much, Garrett.
Hey, Garrett, hope you and the fam are well, and congratulations on the little one on the way. First thing, you mentioned there were more than one ways to skin a cat. How much thought did you give, if any, to not playing at all, and what all did you weigh in your mind in the decision to actually go to the bubble in Orlando?
Honestly, it crossed my mind, but not much, because again, I think, you know, I've had situations where I've been very, what's the word? I've done things hastily without thinking, and my dad is very adamant about thinking before you do anything. And being at this age, seeing what I've seen, understanding the business, understanding this country we live in, I think, as I told G. Logan, that the things are not mutually exclusive. We actually, in my opinion, can get more done by playing than by not playing. We can, again, if we don't play, if we don't go to Orlando and play, as I said, the narrative has died down. Everybody's watching CNN or Fox News or CNBC, ABC News. It's more about the COVID pandemic right now, whereas 2 weeks ago, it wasn't. Even though it was still going on, media is what it is. So by us playing, I think we can keep, as I said, more eyes on it, and also try to save this league that provides a lot of men, a lot of black men, a lot of people with jobs that can help them. So, I mean, it crossed my mind, but when I thought through it, it was never a situation. Now, and I'm the first to tell you, if we didn't play, I wouldn't be terribly upset, because I have a little one on the way, my first child on the way. I have to be in a bubble where I can't see my girl, and she's due mid-September. So, I definitely want to be home. But it's a means to an end. There are, a lot of people that have to go to war, have to do a lot worse things than go play basketball for a few months and stay at a 4 or 5 star hotel. So, looking at it from a wide lens.
Thanks, GT.
Hey, Garrett, it's Alex. Hope all is well with you. Just to piggyback off of Grady's comment real quick, a couple of guys, Gordon Hayward being one of them, have said that they would withdraw if their team's still playing in mid-September, just with their significant others expecting. Have you thought about, with you saying Kara being due in mid-September, if you guys are still playing around that time, how you'd handle it?
Oh yeah, I'm coming back to see my first child being born. That's no question. That's not even a question. So
I just wanted to make sure. And then just with the Friday, you talked about the dialogue with Kyrie and everything. With the Friday night call about guys having second thoughts about going down to the bubble and everything, I'm just curious what your reaction was when you had first heard about that, and the number of guys that had concerns. Because I read somewhere about you kind of reminding people that the NBA PA had already voted on everything, and it was all kind of signed, sealed, delivered. I'm just curious what your reaction was to all that, given this such an unprecedented situation. Were you expecting there to be some guys that have second thoughts after all that, or you had kind of thought that part of the conversation was over, just given your leadership in the Players Association?
Nah, I wasn't surprised necessarily. This is a big time. This is so different. It's so new to everybody. I mean, a lot of people have had second thoughts. I would imagine more than half of the league, of the players that are going, have had second thoughts. So I wasn't surprised, but I think the biggest thing is, we try to push, because as the PA, Michelle called every team and wanted to have discussions about what was going to happen, how everything was going to be set up, as much as we could know at this point. And the thing was that nobody really spoke up during that time, which is normal. We have meetings, and sometimes people don't speak up, or whether it's young guys or guys that just don't feel like talking in front of a group. So these things happen. But this is why we have what we have in terms of a team reps and an executive committee. But I wasn't surprised that people were having second thoughts. Like I said, our mental health is going to be in my opinion, at the forefront of this. It's not necessarily physically, it's more mentally. We're going to be in a bubble for 3 months, not being able to be around our family, friends, until the last, month of that bubble. And I think our mental health are things that people may not be even taking for granted. So in terms of the second thoughts, I wasn't surprised. But I was glad that calls happen and players talk, because this is what we need. We need to talk about situations like this, whether it be at a union meeting, or if we can't do that, a Zoom call. As long as we can keep y'all off of it next time.
Thank you, man.
Garrett, I'm curious, the other day, JJ Redick had a really poignant, interesting perspective on the fact that he doesn't think that it is possible to feel fully comfortable, even though he acknowledges that the NBA and PA are doing everything they can from a safety perspective, just between COVID and a really important election coming up and the racial backdrop in which you're entering this bubble. There is no way to be fully comfortable. What do you think about that notion? I
agree wholeheartedly. No question. I mean, everybody has their individual situations with their families. But even somebody that is having, I guess, ordinary, just regular old guy, it's no way to be comfortable when you think about where you're going to be for the amount of time you're going to be there and the restrictions that you have there. I mean, I agree with him completely. And I heard JJ also say there was no thought about not going. But the fact that the question of us being comfortable, that's anywhere that will not be the case whatsoever. We will have to adapt, and we're gonna get tired of it. But in no way, shape, or form will anybody honestly be comfortable, whether it be on the court or off the court, during leisure time or not. So it's gonna be interesting. That's really all I can say. I mean, I think the word I would use in terms of how I feel is a nervous anxiousness, just trying to see how everything is going to work. I plan on being very cautious, I'll tell you that.
Thank you so much.
All right, guys, we've run out of time. Christian, you'll have our last question.
What's going on, Gary? How are you?
What up, boy?
Good. Just really unrelated to Nets or NBA at all, but we saw Macher Maker commit to Howard. So just curious as to what your reaction was to that and what you think HBCUs need to do to continue to really attract some of these high-level high school prospects.
Man, I'm so excited. I'm hyped. I'm so hyped. That was big time. Even though I feel a certain way because my little sister was trying to decide between Howard and Hawaii on a volleyball scholarship, and Hawaii was more interested. So. But I'm happy for Howard. I'm really happy for the HBCUs in general because, as we know, in the early '60s, in the mid '60s, late '50s and below, HBCUs were the powerhouses. They just never had a chance to play against PWIs, and having a situation with my dad integrated a PWI.
Right.
On the flip side, it took away from the HBCUs, honestly. But I think the first guys that go will have to sacrifice in terms of the facilities. Howard's obviously a great academic school, but facilities-wise, it's not a Duke, it's not a LSU, it's not a high D1 school facilities-wise. So I think the biggest thing is to try to get funding so they can upgrade their facilities, so people won't have to step down in terms of facilities when they go to these schools. And I would love for the league to be a part of that. NBA players to be a part of that. Most of us come from PWIs, and a lot of times people donate money back to your school. I would love for us to donate money back to the HBCU in our cities, the cities that we went to school at, or the HBCUs in the towns that we're from. I think that'll definitely help. But I definitely think it's very important, and I applaud him for being the first to do that.
Gotcha. And one last follow. Sean said that you guys have Van Jones come in to talk to you guys just for like some fireside chats. What did you get from those conversations, and what did he say in them?
Yeah, Van's my guy. I've been been a fan of his for a while. Just letting us know, some of the backdrop of how things have been getting done. This was early on, letting us know how the situation with Jay-Z actually happened in terms of Minneapolis, him talking to the mayor and stuff. The governor, things of that nature, and making sure that we still have hope in this society. Making sure that we know how much pull we have as athletes. How much pull we have if we use our platform the right way. Speaking to the right people. I've actually stayed in contact with him personally. And one thing he was saying was like, we want y'all to keep playing. And all of a few black people in America that have a little bit of money. So we don't want y'all to, stop that. But I think his biggest thing was us to continue to have hope as black men, as black women in America, that he does see a change in how things are going. So that was encouraging, and I thank him for that.
Thank you, Garrett. Appreciate it.
No problem.